A lot of you asked about 90s school lunches after my last video on vanished snacks. So we are cracking open the plastic thermos to look at what Canadian kids actually ate. If you remember trading your Dunkaroos at recess, please give this video a friendly like and kindly subscribe. Number 1. Lunchables. We have to kick things off with the absolute undisputed king of the 1990s elementary school cafeteria, the classic Lunchables. If your mom actually packed you one of these bright yellow boxes, you instantly had the highest social status at the lunch table. The most coveted version was always the pizza one, which came with those cold, slightly powdery mini crusts, a little plastic packet of overly sweet tomato sauce, and a handful of shredded mozzarella cheese that never quite melted, even if you tried to warm it up in your hands. You would meticulously build your cold pizzas while everyone else watched in total envy. I spent 3 hours researching the history of these kits for this video, and it shocked me to learn they were originally invented just to sell more bologna. As I covered in my video about vanished 80s meals, convenience was taking over. But Lunchables took it to a whole new level for kids. We simply didn't care that it was highly processed or that the crackers tasted like cardboard. It was the sheer independence of building our own tiny, sodium-packed meal that made it legendary. Number 2. Jos Louis cakes. If you reached into your insulated neon lunch bag and pulled out a crinkly, clear plastic wrapper containing a Vachon Jos Louis, your day had officially peaked. This iconic Canadian treat was the absolute crown jewel of recess trades. For the uninitiated, a Jos Louis is a beautifully dense red velvet sponge cake, generously stuffed with a thick layer of incredibly sweet vanilla cream, and entirely coated in a thin shell of milk chocolate. It was sticky, messy, and absolutely glorious. You always ended up with chocolate smeared all over your fingers and face before the recess bell rang. Unlike the delicate vanilla half-moons we talked about previously, the Jos Louis was a heavy, robust snack that could somehow survive being crushed at the bottom of a backpack all morning. Kids would negotiate aggressive lunchroom trades for these, swapping entire sandwiches just for a single cake. I personally think this is the most underrated commercial snack cake in North American history, completely outclassing its American counterparts. The sheer sugar rush provided by a single Jos Louis was easily enough to power a Canadian kid all the way through an intense afternoon dodgeball tournament. Number 3. Dunkaroos. You simply cannot properly discuss Canadian childhoods in the 1990s without bowing down to the absolute brilliance of Dunkaroos. This was not just a basic snack, it was an interactive culinary experience. The concept was brilliantly simple: a small blue plastic tray divided into 2 incredibly unequal sections. The larger side held a handful of crunchy, slightly sweet, kangaroo-shaped graham cookies, while the smaller compartment contained a dense, sugary frosting packed with bright rainbow sprinkles. The true challenge of eating Dunkaroos was mastering the precise cookie-to-frosting ratio. If you scooped too aggressively on your first few cookies, you would inevitably be left with completely dry kangaroos at the end. But if you were too conservative, you would be eating pure frosting with your finger. We loved them. It was a stressful but delicious recess activity. While they eventually made a brief comeback recently, the original 90s version holds a deeply sacred place in the hearts of every single Canadian millennial. Nothing will ever completely replace the absolute joy of that original, highly sugary recipe that we all eagerly traded for in the middle of a chaotic, loud elementary school cafeteria. Number 4. Wagon wheels. Another absolute heavyweight champion of the Canadian 90s lunchbox was the mighty, individually wrapped wagon wheel. If your parents bought the jumbo pack at the grocery store, you were guaranteed a fantastic week of recess snacks. A wagon wheel was essentially a massive hockey puck-sized sandwich consisting of 2 slightly soft, crumbly graham-style cookies. Stuffed generously between these layers was a wonderfully sticky, chewy marshmallow filling, and occasionally a tiny dab of sweet artificial jam, all enrobed in a thin, waxy, chocolate-flavored coating. The texture was completely bizarre, but undeniably satisfying. Because the chocolate coating was so prone to melting if you left your lunchbox near a radiator during the winter months, peeling the wrapper off a warm wagon wheel became an incredibly messy, surgical operation. You'd inevitably end up licking the wrapper clean, so you didn't waste a single drop of that chocolatey marshmallow goodness. They were hearty, dense, and provided a serious burst of energy. While they are technically still around today, Anyone who grew up in the 90s will swear that the ones from our childhood were substantially larger and far more marshmallow-packed than the modern versions. Number 5. Bear Paws. Whenever your mom wanted to pack something that seemed slightly healthier, but still kept you relatively happy, the legendary Dare Bear Paws were the ultimate compromise. These incredibly soft, chewy cookies were a staple in almost every single Canadian household throughout the entire decade. Shaped exactly like a little bear's foot, complete with tiny toe indentations, they were practically irresistible to a 90s kid. The absolute elite flavor was the classic molasses variety. It had a deep, rich, slightly spiced flavor that tasted almost like a soft gingerbread cookie. But the chocolate chip version was always a highly respectable secondary choice. What made Bear Paws so unique was their intensely soft, almost cake-like texture. They never crumbled or broke apart in your lunch bag. They just squished slightly, maintaining their perfect moist consistency until lunchtime. They were the ultimate comfort food when you were having a rough day at school. Even though they lacked the flashy neon packaging or the interactive fun of some other recess snacks, the reliable, deeply comforting taste of a molasses bear paw remains one of the most vividly remembered flavors of a classic Canadian 90s childhood experience. Number 6. Pizza Pops. If you were lucky enough to have access to the coveted cafeteria microwave, bringing a frozen Pillsbury Pizza Pop for lunch was the ultimate power move. Invented right here in Canada, these heavy, doughy pockets of molten cheese and highly processed meat were a total teenage staple. The preparation was always a massive gamble. You would throw it into the communal microwave on a paper towel, hit the start button, and pray. When it came out, the outer dough was usually completely rubbery and dangerously tough, while the inside was essentially a boiling lake of lava-hot tomato sauce and pepperoni. Eating a freshly microwaved pizza pop required immense patience and skill to avoid suffering third-degree burns on the roof of your mouth, a rite of passage every Canadian student experienced at least once. Despite the culinary danger and the consistently soggy bottom crust, there was something undeniably magical about biting into that explosive, savory filling right in the middle of a stressful school day. It was cheap, it was incredibly filling, and it tasted exactly like pure, unadulterated 90s, adolescent independence wrapped in a perfectly folded, crimped dough pocket. Number 7. Fruit roll-ups. Next up, we have the most incredibly sticky, brilliantly colored, and fundamentally entertaining fruit snack of the entire decade. The iconic fruit roll-up. This wasn't just food, it was a wearable, edible toy that completely dominated the elementary school cafeteria. When you peeled that vibrant, artificially flavored sheet of gummy fruit off its crinkly cellophane backing, the creative possibilities were truly endless. Most kids would immediately wrap the entire sticky sheet tightly around their index finger and slowly gnaw it off over the course of 20 minutes. Other kids would try to punch out the little perforated shapes right in the middle of the sheet, turning their snack into a frustrating game of sugary precision. The flavors were always intensely aggressive, ranging from bright strawberry to the legendary tongue-staining blue raspberry. We all knew they contained absolutely zero real nutritional value and were essentially just flat sheets of brightly colored corn syrup. But we simply didn't care. The sheer tactile joy of unrolling that sticky, sugary tape at recess was an essential, universally shared Canadian 90s experience that modern, health-conscious fruit snacks simply cannot replicate today in any meaningful way. Number 8. Sunny Delight. Finally, we have to talk about the aggressively neon beverage that washed down all of these heavily processed 90s lunches, Sunny Delight. Known affectionately to kids everywhere as simply Sunny D, this thick, electric orange liquid was the absolute holy grail of the juice box world. It famously claimed to have the tangy taste of real citrus, but every kid knew it tasted absolutely nothing like actual orange juice. Instead, it had a distinctly thick, almost syrupy texture and a bizarrely sweet, incredibly artificial flavor that coated the entire inside of your mouth. The commercials convinced our parents that it was packed with essential vitamins, leading to massive jugs of the stuff taking up permanent residence in Canadian refrigerators coast to coast. If you brought a small plastic bottle of Sunny D to school, you were guaranteed a fantastic lunch. It was the ultimate sugary status symbol beverage, completely overshadowing the humble apple juice box. Even though we eventually learned what was actually in it, that first icy, intensely sweet sip of thick orange Sunny D on a hot playground remains a legendary, unbeatable memory of growing up in Canada. The 1990s lunchbox was a wild, highly processed era of childhood that we will simply never forget. Did I miss your absolute favorite cafeteria snack? Or do you secretly still crave a cold Lunchables pizza? Let me know in the comments below. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more.